Hey everybody, today Rahdo runs down Constantinopolis, which is a Euro-style goods conversion game where 2 to 5 players try to become the most famous merchant in ancient Constantinople. And the way it works is, every round, all players are going to go through 8 steps. First, we can vie for public office. There's 5 offices. Whoever's furthest to the left is going to be first in player order. Furthest to the right, it goes last. And each of these different offices gives you different special powers. And if you want, you can just try to sit where you are, or you can spend money to move to a different office, or even to bid to kick somebody else out of an office you want. And then they could bid to hold on to the office or what have you. After that's resolved, some office holders get some benefits, but then we move on to shipping our goods. Later on, we can get contracts and put them on ships to ship our goods overseas. This is when our ships travel. So like here in the middle of a game, I've got this ship who is about to enter harbor, so he moves over and I deliver this consumer good that I generated on my ship, and I make 5 gold and 1 fame point. Yay! I'm doing what a merchant should, being famous for completing shipping contracts overseas. And my opponent over here, hey, they've got a bigger ship. It sails into harbor as well. Sometimes you've got long journeys that might take 2 rounds instead of 1, but this journey is over, and my opponent has just delivered a passenger. Don't get any fame, but she did make 4 gold. Yay! And after your ships move on and potentially reach foreign harbors, then you produce based on your production buildings. Over the course of the game, you can build a lot of buildings, but money gets tight very quickly. You can see I've got a farm and a metalworks over here. So my farm generates 2 food. My metalworks generates 2 metal. And I've got this weapons factory over here that generates weapons. I have invested heavily in production early in this game. And meanwhile, my opponent, everybody starts with a farm. She's also got this textile, so she's making cloth over here. And she's making, I think this is a carpenter house right there. So we produce. Then, this is the big part of the game, we can start going to the market to buy or sell goods to make money if we need it to build buildings. Also, we can activate our yellow buildings right now. So my opponent here just grew some food at her farm. She can put that food into her tavern to make 4 more bucks and another victory point, as an example. And, because that is an example of activating a yellow building. I don't have any yellow buildings here, but I could take the money I've got and potentially buy one, so I could start converting my goods into money, or I can save my goods and try to ship them overseas with contracts. Also, the current market says what you can buy and sell various types of goods for. So if I wanted to, I could go on ahead and sell the food I've got here to make 4 more so that I could afford to be able to buy a better building, as an example. Or I could sell that 1 weapon I've got for 5. Or I could sell a lot of stuff. But there's an interesting thing. There are strict restrictions. Not only does it say what you can buy and sell for, but how many times you can buy or sell. We can see in the next round coming up, we'd be able to buy or sell industrial goods twice, but consumer goods once, weapons once, and luxury goods once. Over here, we can only sell things once. In a previous round, we could sell a whole bunch of stuff, but there are always restrictions to what you can buy and sell so that you can build more and more buildings to increase your goods generation engine. After this step is over, we buy or sell, we build, we activate buildings. Next, we get contracts. The number of contract cards we get to draw is based on how many production buildings we got, plus other bonuses, like being the Magister Officiorium lets you draw 3 bonus. So I've got 3 production, plus I'm the Magister, I get to draw 6 contracts. And what I'm hoping is I will get a contract that will call for the goods that I've produced. Like, okay, this is perfect. I've got 1 military. I could put this contract on my little ship here and sell those weapons for 7 and a victory point instead of, although, wow, today in the market, I could have sold them for 7, but doing it with my ship means I also get a victory point. Right. But I've also got some other contracts, like I could put a passenger on a ship as well. But right now I've only got 1 ship. So I've got to decide which of these contracts I'm going to take, because in the next step, I actually have to deal with those contracts. I have to put goods on the contracts. I have to put the contracts on a ship. If I need to and I've got the money, I could buy more ships. And I could still go back to the market. So like if I want to get 2 contracts, and by the way, I'm holding because I have a trade house, I've held a contract over from a previous round. This round, I've got 5, I need 4 more. I could sell this weapon to get the 5 I need to buy a bigger ship. Then I'd have 2 ships, one of which could ship this contract from a previous round, and another one which could ship this passenger overseas, so I could start increasing my income. Or hey, I could ship some some goods overseas. Right, as an example. So there's a combination of still buying and selling if I have not already done all the buying and selling that's allowed, getting ships, getting more trade houses, which lets you hold over contracts into future rounds or let you draw more contracts in future rounds. Then after I've done that and I put my ships to sea, let's say I had actually gone on ahead and just sold the metal and put that ship over there. I put some food on it. I sold this metal to make the money I needed to buy the middle-sized ship so that I could ship this passenger as well. These other contracts I drew, well, I didn't keep any of them. And since at the end of the round, I can only carry 1 good over into the next round by default, unless I get a building that lets me upgrade my storage capacity, I think before the round is over, I will sell some of these goods. Although, oh no, this round I cannot sell my red. So I'll be able to store 1, but I'll lose 1. Oh, what to do? Well, those are the kind of challenges you have. You always have to be thinking ahead about what will the market in the next round let you do with the resources you've got. But anyway, if I could buy 1 more red, I might be okay, because the next step is deliver 3 goods to the populace of Constantinople to get victory points by just donating. But I still don't have enough red for that. And then the last step is we set ourselves up for the next market phase, we clear our ledgers, and we continue. And that's how Constantinopolis flows, folks. It generally goes for 9 rounds or until all the public buildings, which are these ways to turn lots of money into some points. Once these are built or we've gone through 9 rounds, the game is over, and whoever's made the most points is the new master merchant of Constantinopolis. And that is the rundown. This is a very sharp game. It's actually an older one. Came out, I think, like 9 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago. And I think its age shows a little bit. The core mechanisms are great. It's a very, very tight economy. There's a fair bit of brinksmanship trying to get into the right place at the right time. But my problems with it are, as a 2-player game, it kind of suffers. They really didn't do much in the way of tightening. There's fewer buildings to build, or fewer instances of buildings to build. But there's way too many ships. They should have tightened up how many ships in a 2-player game. And also, the auction just isn't very interesting in 2 players. If there were 4 or 5 players, there's always going to be people bumping into each other. But in a 2-player game, the auction rarely plays out. And then my other issue with the game is it's always, every single time you play, the same buildings available, the same options, the same strategies. The game doesn't do anything to introduce any kind of setup variability. The order that the markets come into play changes things up a tiny bit, but not very much. And there's a little bit of luck of the draw with contracts, which is why maybe you don't rely on contracts, but instead come up with your own uses for your resources or what have you. But overall, it's a good game, and I think at higher player counts, it could even be a great game. But as a 2-player, it's just a little bit kind of old-fashioned almost. It needed something like hidden objectives. So I have a thing I'm trying to do. So every time I play, the game just gives me a different direction to explore. Because otherwise, what we found, we tend to follow the same strategies over and over again, and it plays out pretty much the same. It's a shame. But like I said, at higher player counts where you have more players and therefore more randomizing seeds get brought into the overall equation of the game, I think it'll work much, much better. That's it, folks. Constantinopolis Rundown. Thanks very much for watching. Have a very, very nice day. Talk to you later. So long. Bye-bye.